Well, I was wrong. Purdue comes back from down 14 points to beat USC in LA and improve to 7-0 in Big Ten conference play.
You are Locked On Boilermakers, your daily podcast on the Purdue Boilermakers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome into another episode of Locked On Boilermakers here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Now, the number one sports podcast network where it's your team every day. I am your host. I am Nick Arvin. I talk Boilermakers every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, the only daily Purdue show out there. Also write about Purdue for Purdue 24/7. And I'm reacting to everything USC today. That game that happened on Saturday, Purdue comes back from down 14 points. And I was wrong because I had the Boilermakers losing that game. So we'll talk about that, my reactions, and what I took away from that game. Then we'll get into my player grades for how Purdue was able to fare against the Trojans in LA. And then we'll finish off today's episode with a little bit of Boilermaker buy, sell, hold. And I appreciate you guys spending your Monday with me here on Locked On Boilermakers. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. The College Football Championship is here, and FanDuel is the best place to get in on the action all playoff long for this championship game. So visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. And in fact, it is Hurricanes. It is Hoosiers tonight. That's certainly going to be a fun one, and I will be cheering for the Hurricanes in that one. But on Saturday, I was cheering for the Boilermakers, although I did have them losing. I thought that it would probably be their first conference loss of the season. And I said that in our preview episode, although I was hoping that Purdue would prove me wrong and they would come in this game with just a ton of energy on the road in LA. I thought it would be a difficult feat for a few reasons. So first of all, it is that West Coast trip. Since the West Coast teams have joined the Big Ten, that has been a concern of mine in terms of Midwest schools that are used to playing a Big Ten schedule now traveling down to the West Coast. So that was something that initially concerned me surrounding this Purdue team going on the road. But then as I dug deeper into this matchup and then the Iowa game happens, my concerns start to stem more around the fact that Purdue just isn't showing the energy that you would want them to show in these Big Ten games. And yes, the Boilermakers are being scouted very well by the other Big Ten teams, but still, that doesn't excuse the lack of effort that we have seen at times. So factor that in, factor in the effort, and I mean, it's easy to see why I thought Purdue would lose this game. And then, of course, the USC team has a very physical front court. They're not the best team in the world, but they have the oldest player in basketball in Chad Baker-Mazara, who we certainly saw a lot of in this game. And it was one where all those concerns were proved right to start this game. Now, absolutely, the Boilermakers pulled this game out, and we'll get to that. But they did start out this game with those concerns where the energy level wasn't there. And I'm going to talk about Trey Kaufman Renn. There's a lot of people, and especially around the social media spaces, who are very protective over TKR. And I understand it. I understand that he's a lot of people's favorite players. I love Trey Kaufman Renn. However, that doesn't mean that I can't comment on the lack of effort that certainly has not been shown the last two games. TKR did not have any effort in this game, in my personal opinion. He was getting beat on the boards. He wasn't able to get to the rim at a consistent level. That little floater that he normally has, it's usually consistent. It wasn't in this game, and it really just hasn't been as of late. I'm not going to harp on TKR too much because we did win this game, but 2 of 8 from field goal range, only 3 rebounds in this game. It's fair to criticize TKR for his performance in this one and even in the past few games because he just hasn't played up to that level. That's my personal opinion on it. You can think whatever you want about it, but that was a big factor to why Purdue was trailing in this game to start out. Like I said, USC, they get up to as much as 14 points ahead of the Boilermakers. The ESPN predictor had it swung all the way in terms of the Trojans having a 75% chance to win this game. But ultimately, down the stretch, the Boilermakers proved that they just have the talent and they have the experience. Of course, some Trojan free throw misses were big at the end of this game, but Braden Smith has 18 points in the first half, only 4 in the second half. but his points happened when they mattered. He gets a steal, brings it down, and then Purdue gets ahead, free throw game the rest of the way. And now coming out of this game, you can think one of two things. You can have two perspectives, and in my opinion, both of them are fair. You can think half glass empty, or you can think half glass full. And the half glass empty perspective about Purdue coming out of this game is that this just isn't maintainable. The ability to go into these games against teams that on paper are not as good as you, and then to trail the way that Purdue has done, especially against USC down 14 and even against Iowa in that game, it's just not maintainable. Down the line where you face off against UCLA this week, Illinois on the weekend, and then tougher games coming up after that, it's hard to see how this Purdue team is going to get where they want in Big Ten play, and that is a regular season championship, and trail in these games and have to come back in these games. It's just not something I see being a long-term solution for this Purdue squad, and I would like to see more effort from the jump in a full 40 minutes of committed basketball, of these guys really playing up to their level. Fletcher Loyer making threes at an efficient rate, Braden Smith doing everything he needs to do, and Trey Kaufman Renn living on those boards, getting it inside. We've had pieces going lately, so by no means has Purdue been bad, but not everybody has been on the same page, and that's been a factor that I've seen. It's been noticeable, and that's why Purdue's defense hasn't been great as of late. That's why the effort levels have been down, and that's why Purdue has gotten themselves into some sketchy situations as of late. So that's one perspective you can hold coming out of this game, the half glass empty, and that's perfectly fine. I understand why you would feel that way, but there's also part of me, a sentiment inside of me, where I am a little bit half glass full coming out of this game. You're now 7-0 in Big Ten play, which if you would have told me preseason Purdue starts out 7-0 in Big Ten play, absolutely, I take that without a shadow of a doubt. And then with that, you start to build up a little bit of an identity when you play through these games. Now, like I said, by no means is this how you want a game to play out, where you have to play from behind and just find a way at the end with your seniors to pull out a victory. That's not what you want. But maybe, just maybe, this Purdue team is good enough to win that way. Maybe, just maybe, Matt Painter has brought in intentionally the players and kept the players that he wants, that he trusts, are capable to win games like this. Maybe the culture that Matt Painter has built up over his years at Purdue, and specifically with this core of Braden Smith, Fletcher Loyer, and Trey Kaufman Renn, maybe he's built up this culture well enough that in senior year for these guys, they are capable of going on the road and coming back in a game like this. There's two perspectives, much like everything in life. There's always two things to look at it. But right now, especially for this Purdue squad, I really feel like there's an optimistic view and there's a pessimistic view of how you look at this Boilermakers team. Now, I absolutely do not think that Purdue is going to stay undefeated much longer. And that's not me trying to be that sour Purdue fan that's saying, oh, I don't trust the Boilermakers, I don't think they're good. That's not what I'm saying. It's back to the half glass empty perspective. Yes, I think that this Purdue team is capable of going far, and I don't think we've even reached our ceiling come March, and especially over the course of February heading into that Big Ten tournament. This team is going to continue to develop and get better and improve over the course of the season. So by no means am I saying that this Boilermakers team is doomed, that they're not where they need to be right now in the course of the season. But what I am saying is that, in my opinion, they are likely going to lose a game soon because there are some glaring issues on the defensive side of the ball. It was better in this game. Both these teams were held under 70, but there are still issues on the defensive side of the ball. The effort still remains a concern, and any time where you get into a hole, there's always a chance that you lose those games because there's no guarantee that a UCLA or an Illinois is going to miss as many free throws as USC did in this game. They just aren't. That's not the reality of how Big Ten play works. Teams are going to not let Purdue climb back into these games. USC didn't, but they're not a great team, in all honesty. It was a tough matchup for Purdue. USC, not a great team, but Purdue, they can't continue to play this way. So I was wrong in this game. I'll take it on the chin, and I'll admit it. I'm happy that Purdue won this one. But there are still certainly things that this team needs to work out in order to reach the goals that they do have. With that being said, A win is a win. 7-0 in Big Ten play. That's all you can ask for. So in this next segment, I hope you stick with us. We're going to get into some player grades, who I thought performed really well in this game and who didn't. So I'll be grading all the players. That's up here next on Locked On Boilermakers. But first, the college football playoff is here. The championship is tonight, and FanDuel is giving all customers even more ways to get in on the action every single game day of the playoffs, because right now, every college football playoff game day, one left for the year, FanDuel users get a profit boost waiting for them in the app. And I love it because you can do bets that you already trust. Get that boost on there for better odds. Ride with the favorite when you think that they control the matchup. If you're feeling a little bit spicy, take a shot on that underdog if you feel an upset coming. But either way, get in with FanDuel because it's free money with that profit boost for you to go after even bigger winnings. And when you win, FanDuel pays out instantly, which is perfect for playoff football. FanDuel is the best place to get into the action all playoff long. And for one more time this college football season, visit FanDuel.com to get your college football playoff profit boost every game day. It's time to get into my player grades for Purdue's win over USC. But before we do, I just want to tell you guys about a couple cool things. So first of all, it's my first season here on Locked On Boilermakers. And if you guys are new here, if you haven't seen the channel yet, or if you just haven't hit that subscribe button, it's free. I have this big milestone of getting to 1,000 subscribers. It means a ton if you could hit that red button. So thank you for that. And then the second thing is, if you're an everydayer, you make this show go. And I want to say I appreciate you for being here every day, supporting the channel. So we wanted to bring something for you guys. In comes the Everydayer Club. Locked On Boilermakers is bringing that for you guys. I'll have the link down below. But what that's going to get you is that ad-free Locked On Boilermakers content you already love, and add in the exclusive Discord access where you can talk to me, talk to all the everydayers, get access to that March Madness bracket pool that'll hit around that time. You got to get in there. So I'll leave that link down below. But with that being said, let's jump into my player grades for Purdue 69-64 victory over the Trojans. And I'm going to start up top. I'm going to start with Trey Kaufman Renn, and he's going to get an F for this performance. I led on to it in the first segment, but that's just the truth. I'm going to be critical of Trey Kaufman Renn because it's deserved. I'm not trying to hate on him. I'm not trying to say that he is a bad player because he's not. What he's done over 5 years now at Purdue is incredible. He's a very important piece. Purdue wouldn't be in the spot that they're in this year if they didn't have Trey Kaufman Renn. But with that being said, 5 points and 3 rebounds is unacceptable. And once again, in this matchup, Purdue loses the rebounding battle because Trey Kaufman Renn wasn't active on those boards. He wasn't giving that energy that you would typically expect out of him. Purdue gets beat 40-32 in the rebounding numbers in this game. And a lot of that I do give to Trey Kaufman Renn. I want him to hold a little bit of that so that he can use this as motivation to bounce back as we get into some of these really critical games. We're going to need Trey Kaufman Renn at his top, and right now he just hasn't been there. He gets an F for his performance in this game against USC. Oscar Cluff, it's the flip for me. If Oscar Cluff doesn't perform the way that he does in this game, Purdue loses because he gave them so much consistency down low when they just couldn't buy a bucket. This is the worst, in my opinion, that Purdue's offense has played so far this year, only not even breaking 70 points, 69 in this game. But Cluff had 19 of those points, 7 of 8 from field goal range. He brings in 6 rebounds. It wasn't the best rebounding night from him, but on an offensive perspective, we don't win without Oscar Cluff, and it just proves how important he is. When we talk about transfer portal, guys getting brought in, there wasn't a more important piece that got brought in the transfer portal this year than Oscar Cluff to Purdue. In this game, he has to get an A because, like I said, we don't win without Oscar Cluff. The efficiency was off the charts. Once again, Oscar Cluff gets an A, Trey Kaufman Renn gets an F in this game. And CJ is actually going to get one of his worst performances from me. I'm a big CJ Cox fan, almost as much as anyone else. I love what he provides us as a defender. In terms of a point of attack defender, I don't know how many better there are at the guard position in the nation. And that ability to be the off-ball guard he is, not need the ball in his hands. It's the perfect fit for this Purdue team. But in this game, he didn't shoot the ball well. 1 for 9, which is a rarity for Cox, only 2 points. Now, he did do some good things on the defensive side of the ball, trying to limit USC's guards at times. So I do have to hold that into account. But 1 of 9 from the field, that's really bad. Only 2 points. I got to give CJ a D for his performance in this game. He gets a little bit higher just because of his defense that he was able to play. But you just can't shoot 1 for 9 and have a successful night. I didn't think that CJ had his best night in this game. He gets a D for me for his performance in this one. I'm going to give Braden Smith a B. Now, he was good, 22 points, had that game-winning steal that sealed things off at the end. 7 for 14, not bad from field goal range, 50%, you'll take that. But the reason I give Braden a B and not anything higher in this performance is because he really stalled out in the second half. Now, he had 18 points in the first, only 4 points in the second half, had him when he needed them, but it would have been nice if Braden could have provided a little bit more, played 38 minutes in this game. And I hate to say that when he led the team in scoring, but it's just he's such an important piece, and when people aren't helping him out, sometimes it's easy to say that Braden needs to do a lot. And only 4 points in the second half. Maybe I'm being a little bit too critical on him, but I don't know. Maybe I am being too critical, but I'm just going to give him a B for his performance in this game. Fletcher Loyer had 7 points, 2 of 5, only 18 minutes because he couldn't play defense against the physical front court that USC was throwing out. Now, he did have 4 personal fouls in this game. That was also a big factor, but it was because USC, they were testing him on defense, and ultimately, it proved successful because they got him into foul trouble. Now, the thing with Fletcher Loyer in this game is that he was 2 for 5, 7 points. And honestly, without him on the floor, I think that Purdue does have better defenders and a Jakari Harris off the bench, maybe even a Jack Benner, who had a solid defensive stretch. But just for Fletcher Loyer in this game, you got to be on the floor more in order to get a good grade. I do think Fletcher not being on the floor kind of adds to this being a more defensive game. But for that reason, I'm going to give him a C. And Jacobson had another poor performance in this game. Another 0-point game, 0 for 1, just not shooting the ball. Does get 3 rebounds, 1 block. And it wasn't necessarily bad, but you have to score. Daniel Jacobson is such a mismatch on the offensive side of the ball because he's 7'4". He could shoot it at a decent efficiency. He brings so much size. He's a lob threat down low. There's just so much that Jacobson provides, and when he's not being productive on the offensive side, it just feels like you're misusing him or that he is not giving as much as he could give for the final outcome of this game. And I don't feel like he did give as much as he could have in this one, only 1 shot attempt. I'm going to give Jacobson a D+ in this game because some of the rebounding, a block shot was big at the point where it happened. But outside of that, he just didn't do anything on the offensive side. Meyer, more of the same, played more minutes, 19 minutes, 1 of 3, made a 3-pointer in this game. He was a C-, not anything to write home about, but also played solid minutes when he was in. The bench in general wasn't amazing, and they haven't been for a while now, but Jack Benner and Jakari Harris were solid in this game, and I want to give them their praises because a lot of people talk about Jack Benner, his ability to play, what he's going to be, his role for Purdue, and I think that he's really carved out that role that a lot of people say he won't have. 20 minutes in this game, was the leader off the bench, played more minutes than Fletcher Loyer in this game. They had to bring him on the floor when Fletch was getting into foul trouble, and I think that he provided 7 rebounds, which was huge for Purdue in this game, led the Boilermakers in rebounding, which is insane. If you told me that Benner would lead Purdue in rebounding, I would tell you you were absolutely crazy. But he also pours on 5 points in his own right. Jack Benner played great in this game. I thought off the bench, he was one of our best players in this game. I'm going to give him a B+. Just incredible. The way that he came off the bench really kept Purdue in this one. I think that he was a little bit undervalued in terms of his effect. And Jakari Harris has another solid game. Now, it wasn't perfect, wasn't his best, 1 of 3, but he got to the free throw line, scored 6 points, and was able to give a good effort on the defensive side in 14 minutes. I'll take whatever I can get from Jakari Harris. Just continue to build up that confidence in him. The more we see of him, the more consistent he gets in terms of his minutes. I think the more consistent we'll see him play in those minutes, but ultimately, I just don't know right now with him. He's been struggling so much over the course of this season. It's tough to say what he's going to be or really find that baseline for what he'll be this year. But in this game, I didn't think he was bad per se. I'll give him a C, which is higher than where we've had him as of late. But that's everyone that Purdue played in this game. Only a 9-man rotation. Didn't have the opportunity to bring anyone else off that bench in this game. And overall, for Purdue, I'm going to give them D+. It just wasn't a good game. Once again, you get yourself into a 14-point hole on the road. That's not where you want to be. So I can't give Purdue a good grade in this one. I'm going to give them a D+ because they do come out with a victory, but it was about as close to losing as you could possibly get. Didn't like how Purdue went and attacked this game, and hopefully they're able to improve going into UCLA this week. We'll have a preview out tomorrow for that one, so make sure you join us with that. But for the final segment of Locked On Boilermakers, we're doing our weekly Boilermaker buy, sell, hold. So stay with us. Final segment of Locked On Boilermakers coming up here next. The new year is here, and it's the perfect time to reset your routine and refresh your space. If you're spending more time at home, you might as well love how it looks and feels, and that's why you should turn to Wayfair. It's a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it easy to start the year fresh, and they have everything you're going to need for a full home refresh all in one place. Whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, or just upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair has a huge selection, which makes it easy to find exactly what works for your style and budget. As you can tell, I've been moving into a new place with the new background setup, so I've needed to get new pillows, new bedding, in a Wayfair. They came up clutch for me as I was moving in. Last minute, they got me that bedding, that pillows, and now I'm good to go for 2026. And you can too. You can get organized, refreshed, and back on track this new year for way less. Head on over to wayfair.com right now to shop all things home. That's WAYFAIR.com. Wayfair. Every style, every home. All right, final segment of today's Locked On Boilermakers, and that means it's time for this week's Boilermaker buy, sell, hold. And if you're new here, let me explain for you just a sec what that means. Essentially, I'm going to have a few takes I'm going to throw out there. Buy means, yes, I believe in it. Hold is going to mean I need a little bit longer to come to that determination, and I think there's a couple takes we have today that are previous holds I'm going to make a new judgment on today. And then, of course, sell means I don't believe in it. Just flat out forget it. Not going to happen in my personal opinion. And the first take that I've got today is one that we did either last week or the week before here on the show. But essentially, it was that, is Fletcher Loyer's struggles going to cause Purdue a game at some point? And this is one that I did say hold on, because I thought that if Fletcher Loyer continued to struggle the way that he did, it probably would cost Purdue a game. Now, with that being said, I didn't know if his struggles would continue, because there was a game in there where Loyer had 20. But as of right now, it's a little bit more complicated than the question originally was, because now with the way that Trey Kaufman Renn has been playing, on top of there being some concerns surrounding Fletcher Loyer, especially against USC, his ability to play defense against some of those physical wings, and especially to stay on the court when he gets into foul trouble, I think the question now is this team's ability or rather, can this team put the players around Braden Smith? Can these seniors step up around Braden Smith in order for Purdue not to lose a game, rather than just Fletcher Loyer? Because right now, just nobody is helping Braden Smith. Smith is having to really lead this team, put the squad on his back. TKR hasn't been showing that effort. Loyer has been struggling, like I talked about. So as of right now, I think the question is a little bit different, and we need some of these seniors to step up, guys that have been here to kind of help guide Braden Smith, as he's really been that leader for this squad as of late. I'm going to buy into the fact that if the leaders don't step up, Purdue will lose a game, and this will cost the Boilermakers a game. I switched up the question a little bit, but once again, it's my segment, so I can do what I want. But I'm going to say that. I'm going to say bye for that one. The second question that I had lined up for today is that, is Purdue in the best spot possible out of all the teams in the Big Ten? That includes Nebraska, who is tied for Purdue, undefeated. That includes Michigan, Michigan State, everybody. Is Purdue in the best spot to win the Big Ten as of right now? And this is one where I think the Boilermakers are really, really close after the win against USC. Now, obviously, a game ahead of Michigan, tied up with Nebraska, but I just don't see Nebraska, their undefeated streak, lasting too much longer over teams like Illinois, Michigan, Purdue. There's a tough stretch coming for them, and I just don't know if they survive that. That's one where I think Nebraska is not going to be in it as much as a Michigan or a Purdue down the stretch. Still do think it's a two-team race between the Wolverines and the Boilermakers. But with that being said, if Purdue is capable of winning this game this week against UCLA, that's going to be a big one, and it's going to put a lot of pressure on Michigan. I think the odds swing in favor of Purdue right now, according to FanDuel. Michigan's a slight favorite, right around minus 140, I believe. Purdue around plus 160, but a lot closer than they were to start out this Big Ten play. So for that, I'm going to say slight hold. We're going to hold to the end of this week, rather. But I think if Purdue stays undefeated after this week, they will 100% be in the best spot to win the Big Ten. The third question is going to be, is Braden Smith in the conversation for National Player of the Year? And I have been very vocal with this one. Bye. I think he's dang near the top of that conversation right now. And I know Cameron Boozer, Ajay Debonsta, they're having great years as freshmen right now, but you can't deny what Braden Smith is doing. He started out the year slow, but since then, the shooting numbers have been up. He's been getting 20 points pretty consistently as of late. And I feel like once he gets to that assist record, now he has slowed down that pace a little bit. But if he is able to break that assist record, I just don't see a way that he misses out on that award if he continues the shooting numbers that he has been putting up as of late. So I'm going to say bye on this one. Emphatic bye, because I think that Braden Smith has really climbed that ladder all the way to the top of that conversation. Bye for is Braden Smith in the National Player of the Year conversation. And the last take that I have for today is going to be our lone football take of today. And it's going to be, is Purdue going to pick up another quarterback out of the portal? And this is one that I made an episode about on Friday, or at least talked about on Friday, because Steve Wiltfong did report that Purdue would likely be getting a big target and nearing a big target in the quarterback market surrounding the transfer portal. And we looked at some names on Friday. We determined that there were two Oregon quarterbacks, both in the portal, that would be solid fits, but both of those guys commit over the weekend, one to Georgia, one to Bowling Green. And now I'm left thinking, who is left for Purdue? Who is this big name quarterback that is left on the table? Because right now, only one guy is really left in terms of that top 30, top 40 on the 24/7 transfer ratings. And that's Parker Navarro out of Ohio, 6-foot quarterback, 211 pounds. And honestly, I mean, he's good enough to have a solid ranking on 24/7 Sports, but I don't know if that makes him better than Ryan Brown. I haven't done a ton of research on Navarro because I don't know for sure if he's even who Purdue is targeting. But it's just interesting that report comes out and then everything is seemingly quiet. The two Oregon quarterbacks commit. And now we're just in a weird situation right now surrounding Purdue where I don't know if we're going to get a quarterback or not. But I guess we're going to see this week as the portal starts to come to a close. It's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to say sell for now, just because I do think that maybe Purdue is searching for those two Oregon guys. They go off the board, and now Ryan Brown is the guy. That's what I thought from the start. But it's just a very confusing time right now for what Odom is doing, what's going on with this portal, what the quarterback situation is. But I'll keep you guys updated as we get more details. And I appreciate you guys making Locked On Boilermakers your first listen today. It means more than you could ever know. Once again, to all the everydayers out there, thank you. We'll have that Everydayer Club link set down below in the description, so make sure you check that out. But I think that's all I got for you guys today. It was a fun win against USC. I'll have the UCLA preview video coming out tomorrow, so make sure you join us once again for that. But as always, boiler up, hammer down.